Warning, this video is an exercise in something I don't do very well. Bare my soul. When you get to be my age, impending senility becomes an issue. Recent studies have shown that learning a new language helps stave off or perhaps even prevents Alzheimer's disease. In my case, I have chosen to learn Russian, a choice that should appear natural given that my favorite author is Dostoevsky. My favorite book is Crime and Punishment. My favorite composer is Mussorgsky. And my favorite opera is Kovanchino. The trick is, the mastery should be challenging. Merely solving crossword puzzles is not enough. There has to be some struggle. This struggle is accomplished by virtue of the fact that Russian uses the Cyrillic alphabet, an alphabet where V's look like B's, and L's look like misshapen horseshoes. This is the Russian word for Russia. Actually, it looks like the name of a Pokemon character. According to Duolingo, I have learned over 200 words. I do know how to say bye-bye in Russian, which is boka-boka. According to my mother, my birth was not easy. I was a transverse lie requiring a forceps delivery. My mother was sedated with ether, and shortly thereafter, I stopped breathing. This was not discovered for 10 minutes. As a consequence, I developed a brain lesion on my left temporal lobe. In other words, I'm an epileptic. I have a family history of bipolar disorder and suicide, though I have never been formally diagnosed. I am prone towards panic attacks, false Tourette's, and I hear voices outside my head. I outgrew the grand mal seizures by the time I was in college. I may still be having petit mal seizures, but if I am, they are so mild and inconsequential that they do not interfere with my life. Epilepsy creates an elevated sense of being different. As a child, I preferred my own company. Not only did I not follow the crowd, I avoided the crowd. My sense of distinctness and being unlike anyone else was above and beyond. When I was an older teenager, I discovered Dostoevsky, and reading Crime and Punishment had a major impact on my life. I identified with Raskolnikov. By extension, I discovered the philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche. I developed a self-serving, pseudo-Nietzschean, Raskolnikovian philosophy that did little more than rationalize the fact that I was among, but never a part of any group I was with. It served its purpose. It allowed me a measure of intellectual comfort in a position that was untenable. Things needed to change. I had outgrown my epilepsy. Now it was time for me to grow up. In the 1970s, the Newman Center at Lamar University supported a religious retreat called a happening. This format follows the modern-day Acts retreat. I attended. I happened. It was a paradigm, but it would come at a terrible cost. I have yet to fully overcome the consequences of that time of my life. The happening team considered only that which exists on the emotional level to be real. If a person, such as myself, operated on the cerebral level, then It wasn't real. He was pressured to change. I am not an emotional person. I am supremely intellectual. By eschewing the intellectual in favor of the emotional, I became something that I was not. The gifts of God are dispersed unevenly. There are some gifts given to some, and other gifts given to others. The one thing that the happening team never was able to do was accept me for the person that I was. They did constantly insist that I accept others for who they were. If I attempted to be myself, I was shunned or outright hounded into compliance. They insisted that I adhere to their arbitrary concept of reality. I did break through the self-imposed isolation. I had to say goodbye to Raskolnikov. But living life on an emotional level took over, and with it, bipolar cycling. I found myself on an emotional roller coaster ride, a 2-year bout with recurring suicidal depression. My mother, who was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, cycled in the same manner. She went from manic to depressive. She was a semi-professional writer, and with nothing more than an idea, a set of art supplies, and a ream of paper, could produce a camera-ready children's book in less than a week. Afterwards, she crawled into bed and stayed there for 3 months. This is known as hypergraphia, something that I have to be on guard about. Suffice it to say that both Van Gogh and Ernest Hemingway were hypergraphic. The depressive episodes that plagued me during this period happened for no apparent reason. I would swing between ecstasy and depression. It never involved any rhyme or reason, though there did appear to be something of a correspondence with springtime. A commercial for drugs used to treat depression makes mention of the emotional and physical pain that accompanies depression. The emotional pain is an overwhelming and incapacitating sense of hopelessness and worthlessness. The physical pain hurts like hell. Whole body arthritis is an understatement. It is nagging. It is gnawing. It is severe. And eventually, one is willing to do anything, and by that I mean anything, to make it stop. Springtime again. I am at a conference for those involved with the Newman Center. My room is on the 17th floor of the Blackstone Hotel in Fort Worth, Texas. My depression has returned. I want the pain to stop. I am standing in front of the window of my room, looking down at the street below. It is dark. The street is black. It is wet from a recent rain. The sash is open. There is no screen. I want to jump. But I couldn't jump. I became sick to my stomach. What I really wanted to do was vomit. It's as if the hand of God had reached out, grabbed me by my collar, and pulled me back. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was spared and safe, at least for the moment. I am not, however, out of the woods. Ever since, my life has been one of vigilance, lest I lapse back. In my case, having emotions is like having a pet wolf, capable of turning on its master. Despite what the happening team had tried to make me believe, A way of life based on emotions isn't real. My primary gift is the power of my mind. Rather than try to do something I was not, try to be something I was not, I should have embraced my strengths and told the happening team that they were the ones who needed to learn acceptance. The real problem may be with those who interpret normalcy as mindless conformity. In this case, normalcy is an aberration. I had to come precipitously close to killing myself to learn this. Life is a cruel teacher. The path that I have traveled since September 2012 has seen me endure the death of my wife, the loss of a home, the loss of 2 jobs. But it has also involved extensive travel, constantly knocking on doors seeking entrance. Most of these doors were not only slammed in my face, but slammed rather rudely. Only 2 doors remained open. One is leading me to a Master of Arts in Theological Studies. The second has led me to Holy Cross Monastery, and there I made my oblation on the transit of St. Benedict, 2015. All of this should have killed me, but somehow I endured, and I have to attribute it to nothing less than the grace of God. I began my graduate studies in theology with a course on Hans Urs von Balthasar. It was von Balthasar who said, "You will not serve, but be called into service." It isn't about me. Never was. It isn't about what I want to do. It's about where am I needed. The infant comes to a knowledge of itself through the smile of its mother. Dare we hope that all might be saved. It is the thou. It is the other. And that's where my focus needs to be. Now, having said all of this, I must insist. Do not emulate the sins of my youth and stupidity. If you ever find yourself in a situation that I was in back in the 1970s, get help. I may have used up the rug for the both of us. Get help. Get help. Get help. Do not tough it out like I did. I survived. You may not. So to wrap up, things aren't nearly as sanguine as they used to be. I have my studies, my children, my grandchildren. I found a better job, better house. And I have a new woman in my life. Her name is Mary. I have her picture right here on my cell phone. Call me biased, but I think she's pretty. Boca boca.